When we speak of fire, we often imagine something wild, powerful, and difficult to control, but the fire I want to talk about today is different. It is a quieter flame, one that begins almost unnoticed, growing softly inside a person until it becomes a source of direction, courage, and purpose. And today, I want to speak about the fire that was placed in me long before I fully understood its meaning. Sometimes our lives are shaped not by grand declarations, but by the gentle consistency of the people around us, by the way they walk beside us, the way they trust us, the way they show us what it means to serve something greater than ourselves. The fire in me was not born in a single moment. It was shaped by years of watching, listening, learning, and holding close the examples that have guided me. Much of that strength comes from within my family, and there is one bond that continues to illuminate my steps in a very special way. Growing up side by side with my sister Sofia has taught me that courage does not always announce itself. Sometimes it appears in the quiet things, in the support that never needs to be asked for, in the shared glances that say you can do this, in the knowledge that someone understands not only where you are going, but where you come from. Sofia has been part of every chapter of my life. She has seen my doubts, my dreams, my responsibilities, and the weight that sometimes comes with them. And she has always reminded me that strength is not something we possess alone, but something we grow through presence and trust. Her honesty grounds me, her kindness steadies me, her laughter lifts what feels heavy, and the fire that burns in me burns brighter because it has never had to burn alone. But the fire is also about duty, not the kind defined by obligation, but the kind shaped by purpose. It is the kind that teaches you that each decision, each step, each commitment carries meaning, the kind that makes you want to give more than you receive, the kind that reminds you that service is not a burden, it is a privilege. There are moments when this path becomes challenging, when expectations feel high and the future feels vast, but every time I pause, I find the same flame waiting, the flame built from the trust placed in me, the values I was raised with, the sense of belonging to something larger than myself. And in those moments, I know that the fire will not go out because it was given to me with love, patience, and intention. I have learned that carrying a flame is not only about letting it illuminate your own way. It is also about using it to bring warmth, hope, and clarity to others. It is about sharing what was once shared with you, and it is about understanding that the light we offer does not diminish our own, it multiplies. We all receive a fire at some point in our lives, sometimes from the people who raised us, sometimes from the ones who walk beside us, sometimes from the dreams that call us forward. What matters is not how loudly it burns, but how faithfully we carry it, and how we allow it to shape not just the future we imagine, but the future we create. As I continue moving forward, I carry this fire with humility and gratitude. I carry it knowing that it comes from trust in who I am, trust in who I can become, and trust in the bond that has shaped me from the beginning, and I carry it knowing that my steps are never taken alone. Thank you for being part of this journey, for believing in the quiet strength that guides us, and for honoring the flame that lives in each of us. May we all find the courage to protect it, nurture it, and let it lead us towards something meaningful. And as we move ahead, may that fire, the one placed gently within us, continue to burn with purpose, with hope, and with the unshakable certainty that we are stronger when we carry it together. Inspiration often begins long before we are conscious of it. It grows quietly, shaped by the places that raised us, and the people who stood close enough for their presence to become part of our own rhythm. When I think about what guides me, what steadies my steps, and what gives meaning to the responsibilities I carry, I always return to the same truth: we are shaped by the roots we share. Those roots are not just places or traditions, they are moments, gestures, lessons, and bonds that build us gradually, layer by layer, until we realize that much of our strength does not come from ourselves alone. There is a kind of inspiration that is not loud or dramatic. It rises from familiarity, from the simple, constant things that surround us as we grow. It comes from watching people who move with purpose, people who protect what matters, people who serve without expecting anything in return. This type of inspiration is not something you look for, it is something you inherit. It becomes part of your identity so naturally that you only understand its influence when you begin to step into the world on your own. The roots that shape me have always been connected to a sense of belonging to family, to values, to a shared vision of what it means to move forward with clarity and intention. Growing up, I learned that true strength comes from knowing who you are, but also from knowing where you come from. It is the calm assurance that your path is not built alone. It rests on the efforts, the sacrifices, and the hopes of those who came before you. That knowledge gives a certain kind of confidence, not the confidence that shouts, but the one that rises quietly when you need it. There are moments when I reflect on the responsibilities that lie ahead of me, and I feel the weight of them, but the roots I carry remind me that purpose is rarely something we build from nothing. It is something we continue. The example of those who walked before becomes a map, not to follow blindly, but to understand deeply. It shows you the values worth protecting, the connections worth nurturing, and the legacy worth carrying forward. Among the strongest influences in my life is the bond formed from growing side by side with someone who understands every part of the journey, someone who shares not only the environment but the emotions, the expectations, and the hopes tied to it. That kind of closeness teaches you how to reflect, how to grow, how to stay grounded. It offers a mirror that does not judge but encourages, reminding you that you do not need to carry everything alone. Shared roots mean shared understanding, and shared understanding means shared strength. That strength does not always appear in dramatic gestures. Sometimes it appears in a quiet smile at the right moment, in a conversation held late at night, in a hand placed on your shoulder when words are not needed. These small things accumulate, forming a foundation that becomes unshakable. They teach you that love is not only expressed, it is lived daily and consistently through presence, and that presence becomes its own form of inspiration, steady, humble, and enduring. As I prepare for the future and the responsibilities that come with it, I hold on to the lessons given to me by the roots of my upbringing. I carry the awareness that service is not a duty of one person, but the continuation of a shared story. The strength that guides me does not come only from ambition or desire. It comes from a sense of gratitude for the values instilled in me, for the support that never falters, for the trust that has shaped my sense of purpose. Inspiration from shared roots also teaches humility. You learn that everything you do is connected to something larger. It reminds you that you are part of a continuum, one where every effort, every gesture, every moment of courage adds to a greater whole. That understanding does not diminish individuality, it enriches it. It tells you that your path is unique but grounded, your choices are your own but guided, your voice is personal but strengthened by the echoes of those who guided you. There is a certain comfort in knowing that no matter how wide the world becomes or how challenging the journey feels, the roots that shaped you remain. They act as a compass, pointing inward when the path ahead feels complex. They remind you that identity is not something you perform, it is something you carry, and when you carry it with sincerity, it becomes a source of quiet confidence, the kind that cannot be shaken by doubt or uncertainty. What inspires me most is not one particular moment or one particular person, but the combination of many things woven together through time, shared experiences, shared values, shared hopes, all of these form a foundation that continues to guide me. They remind me that belonging is not merely about being part of something, it is about contributing to it. It is about growing while staying connected to the essence that shaped your beginnings. As I continue moving forward, I often think about how these roots will influence the way I serve, the way I lead, and the way I carry the responsibilities entrusted to me. They give me clarity, reminding me that purpose is not measured by grand achievements, but by the consistency of your intentions. They remind me that the legacy we inherit is also the legacy we help build through patience, through dedication, through commitment to what is right. Shared roots do not limit us, they give us wings, they allow us to grow outward because we are anchored inward. They give us the strength to imagine the future while honoring the past. And they remind us that inspiration does not always need to be sought. Sometimes it has been with us from the very beginning, waiting for the moment we finally recognize its flame. The fire within any of us is never just ours. It is lit by hands that protected us, voices that guided us, and hearts that walked beside ours. And when we understand that, the path ahead no longer feels daunting. It feels meaningful. The roots that shaped me continue to give me courage, direction, and purpose. And as I follow the road ahead, I do so carrying not just my own hopes, but the inspiration born from everything and everyone who helped me become who I am. Responsibility is often described as something external, a weight placed on our shoulders, a set of expectations handed to us by circumstance or by others. But with time, I have learned that true responsibility is not shaped by what comes from outside, but by the fire that grows quietly within. It is not forced, not demanded, not imposed. It emerges from understanding, from purpose, and from a deep, steady sense of who you are becoming. That inner fire transforms responsibility from an obligation into a calling, from something you must carry into something you choose to honor. There are moments in life when responsibility feels vast, almost overwhelming, when you look ahead and see not just the tasks waiting for you, but the significance behind them. It is in those moments that the inner fire becomes essential. It is the source of clarity that reminds you why you step forward. It is the source of strength that steadies your heart when uncertainty surrounds you, and it is the source of courage that pushes you beyond your fears and into the spaces where you grow. For me, this fire was not born from a sudden realization. It grew slowly, shaped by the values I witnessed, the example I followed, and the quiet encouragement that accompanied me through every stage of my life. When you grow up seeing dedication lived out, not through grand gestures but through daily consistency, you begin to understand that responsibility is not a single moment of action, but a lifelong rhythm of commitment. And with that understanding, something awakens inside of you, a flame that tells you you are ready to carry more, to serve more, to give more. Responsibility shaped by inner fire is different from responsibility shaped by expectation. Expectation can create pressure, but inner fire creates purpose. Expectation tells you what others want from you. Inner fire reminds you what you want to stand for. Expectation can feel heavy. Inner fire feels steady. When your sense of responsibility rises from within, it aligns with your heart, your values, and your vision of the person you hope to become. There are times when I reflect on the path ahead and feel the magnitude of it. The future is filled with moments that will challenge me, moments that will ask for strength I have not yet had to use, moments that will require thought, empathy, and conviction. But instead of fearing those moments, I feel a quiet certainty. Because responsibility, when carried with inner fire, does not drain you. It shapes you. It becomes the very reason you find new depths within yourself. That flame, however, must be nurtured. It grows through trust, trust placed in you, and trust you learn to place in yourself. It grows through listening, through observing, through understanding the meaning behind the roles you hold. And it grows through connection, because responsibility is never something you navigate alone. Even the strongest inner fire is strengthened by the presence of those who walk beside you. In my life, that presence has always been deeply meaningful. Having someone who sees both your strengths and your vulnerabilities, someone who understands the path you are learning to walk, someone who shares not only your environment but your aspirations, this kind of companionship shapes you. It reminds you that responsibility is not a solitary pursuit. It is a shared journey built on trust, honesty, and understanding. That connection fuels your fire. It encourages you when doubt creeps in. It grounds you when emotion becomes heavy. It strengthens the sense of responsibility you carry because it reminds you that your actions matter not only for yourself, but for those who believe in you. Responsibility is also shaped by the moments when you must choose purpose over comfort, the moments when you feel uncertain but step forward anyway, when you put aside what is easy for what is right. These choices refine the flame inside you, making it steadier, brighter, more resilient. They teach you that being responsible is not about perfection, it is about intention, about showing up with sincerity, about giving the best of yourself even when the path feels complicated. Sometimes the inner fire burns quietly. It does not ask for attention or recognition. It simply guides you. It is present in the way you listen, the way you make decisions, the way you speak, and the way you stand firm in your values. It is a soft, steady flame that reminds you that responsibility is not only about what you do, it is about who you become. It shapes your character, your choices, and the legacy you begin to build long before you realize it. As I grow into roles that ask more of me, I understand increasingly that the weight of responsibility is not meant to crush, it is meant to strengthen. Every challenge becomes a lesson, every duty becomes an opportunity, every moment of pressure becomes a moment of growth, and with each step the inner fire becomes more defined. It becomes a source of stability, no matter how complex the path ahead becomes. Responsibility shaped by inner fire also teaches gratitude. Gratitude for the trust placed in you, for the roots that grounded you, and for the people who stood beside you as you learned to stand on your own. Gratitude for the opportunities to serve, to lead, and to contribute. Gratitude for the chance to be part of something larger than yourself. When responsibility is carried with gratitude, it becomes meaningful. It becomes something you honor with humility, not something you merely complete. You understand that every action has an impact, every decision carries weight, and every effort contributes to a future that extends beyond your own life. And so, I move forward with that fire as my guide. It is not loud, but it is unwavering. It reminds me that responsibility is not only about facing the world, it is about understanding your place within it. It is about recognizing that your voice, your strength, and your dedication can bring light to the spaces you touch. The inner fire continues to shape the way I carry my responsibilities, reminding me that the path ahead is not meant to intimidate but to inspire. And with each step I take, I do so with a sense of clarity, purpose, and hope, knowing that responsibility, when fueled from within, becomes not a burden, but a profound and enduring source of strength. Sisterhood, in its truest form, is not simply a bond created by growing up together. It is a direction, one that shapes the way you move through the world, the way you understand yourself, and the way you learn to face both the quiet and the demanding moments of life. It becomes a compass made not of rules or expectations, but of shared trust, shared memory, and shared purpose. When two people grow side by side, witnessing each other's strengths and vulnerabilities with complete honesty, something unspoken forms between them. That unspoken understanding becomes a guiding force, steady and constant, even in times when the path ahead seems uncertain. There is something profoundly grounding about knowing that someone has walked with you since the beginning. Someone who has seen your fears before you learned to hide them, your dreams before you learned to name them, and your hopes before you dared to voice them. Sisterhood holds these truths with a gentleness that is rare. And because it holds them, it naturally shapes the direction you take. It teaches you not only where you are going, but how you want to go there, steadily, thoughtfully, and always with intention. What I have learned from sisterhood is that direction does not always come from clarity. Sometimes it comes from presence. There are moments when words are unnecessary, when a simple look or a quiet gesture says everything. Moments when standing beside someone you trust makes the world feel more manageable, more open, more possible. In those moments, the sense of direction becomes less about what you must do and more about who you choose to be. It reminds you that moving forward does not require perfection, it requires companionship. Growing together shapes you in ways you only begin to understand with time. You learn to pay attention to the small things, how encouragement can be silent, how reassurance can be felt without being spoken, how strength can be shared. You begin to understand that direction is not about control but about alignment. Two paths can be different and yet move toward the same horizon. Two roles can carry different responsibilities and yet be strengthened by the same foundation. Sisterhood teaches you that your journey is never truly yours alone. It reminds you that someone else knows the weight of your responsibilities, the pace of your growth, and the meaning behind your choices. Someone else understands the pressure not through observation but through experience. Someone else sees the world with similar eyes because they have walked through the same doors, faced the same expectations, and held the same values close. That shared understanding becomes a source of quiet strength. There are times when direction feels difficult to grasp, when decisions are heavy, when change comes faster than expected, when pressure builds without warning. In those moments, having someone whose path intertwines with yours becomes a lifeline. Their presence reminds you that uncertainty is not a sign of weakness, it is a part of growth. Their perspective offers a clarity that your own emotions may momentarily blur. Their confidence in you often appears at the precise moment yours begins to fade. Sisterhood becomes a kind of filter that softens the fear and amplifies the courage, and yet sisterhood is not about sameness. It is about balance, about